Gamesir Xbox Kaleid or Gamesir G7se. Hey everyone, it's Take. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video is the Gamesir Xbox Kaleid versus the Gamesir G7se. Both are very similar products, both only have two back buttons, no trigger stops, same Nexus software for customization, but there are some refinements made on the Xbox Kaleid. So in this video, I just want to cover the differences between them. Let's start with the ergonomics. The Gamesir Xbox Kaleid weighed in at 218 grams on my scales, and on the same scales, the G7se was 223 grams. And the standard series controller without battery is 240 grams. So around 5 grams lighter, but I don't actually feel the weight difference at all. What I do find a little bit different are these grips in the hand, especially the bottom part. They feel a lot more chunkier to me, and I do find my little finger and the ring finger sort of opened up a lot more on this one than the G7se. It's not uncomfortable. I personally actually prefer the Kaleid over the G7se. Also, a big thing here is there is no removable faceplate anymore. So on the G7se, whilst gaming, it moved a lot for me in hand. That's something that's gone here. Might be a negative for you, but I personally think it's a big positive. And the triggers and bumpers, they feel very similar to me. I think if you are used to a standard Xbox controller, you could easily get used to the G7se or the Kaleid. But if you do have smaller hands, you might prefer the G7se over the Xbox Kaleid. For me personally, I think the Xbox Kaleid wins when it comes to the ergonomics. Build quality, I do have little concerns with this glossy plastic, scratches a lot. But the good thing is where my palms rest, that frosted material feels really nice. And the back have textured grip. Again, we're missing the rubberized grip of the G7. But the gripping texture actually helps a lot with the grip. So overall, I do think the product feels very nice. Apart from the glossy plastic, I wish it didn't have that. But I am overall really happy with the Gamesir Xbox Kaleid. If you are on PC, the Gamesir Xbox Kaleid makes a lot more sense because this time around, we actually have true 1000 Hz without the need of a script. And this is Windows 10 and it actually works. The update per second basically changes with how many inputs received from the stick. So there are two values changing at the same time. So the update per second, basically the report rate is half of that. So if I move them very quickly, you will see it will go over 1800. That means at least over 950 points are being sent to the PC, and that's without any script. So G7se, I'm going to plug the G7se now, and I'll show you what that one does in this app. So right now the G7se is in 250 Hz mode. So if I basically move the stick, you will see that it's sending around 480 updates per second. So it's basically half of that. So 250 Hz, it's a little bit less than that, what the amount of input is sending. But if I go into 1000 Hz mode, we don't have the script. So the 1000 Hz sort of works like a 500 Hz mode on the G7se, and you will see they will go up to 973. 979. Now this is on Windows 10. Windows 11 does have a script option where you can actually enable proper 1000 Hz, but I did get a comment from someone saying that they got a temporary ban in Apex and they had to send them a message about, you know, the script being there or whatever. So that's a bit concerning. It hasn't happened to me. I mean, I only game on Xbox. So that's why the Kaleid makes a lot of sense on the PC, not needing any script, whatever, to get true 1000 Hz performance. Here are some latency results using the Kaleid on the PC. So if you look at the G7se 1000 Hz, again, Windows 10 is not doing a proper 1000 Hz. I got 7.6 frames on average, and the Kaleid in 1000 Hz actually did 7.44. So like I said, on PC, the Kaleid definitely makes more sense because if you look at the Elite Series 2 on the same session in XDefiant, same practice session, like all the same settings, got 8.44 frames. So considerably faster than an Elite Series 2 on PC and faster than the G7se as well. Moving on to the Xbox results. So I've already made a video about this. The 1000 Hz, when you enable 1000 Hz, it's like as if the controller is reverting to just a standard X input mode. It loses the Xbox license. You can't see the controller in the Xbox accessories app. Also, the gamepad tester shows it as an Xbox 360 controller, which is the same behavior for PS5 controllers like the Nacon Revolution 5 Pro or the Victrix PDP BFG, which actually shows Xbox 360 controller. But in 500 Hz, it keeps the audio, it has the Xbox license. So on Xbox, this is where I did the test. G7se definitely in 1000 Hz outperforms it. So 7.25 average result out of the 40 tests that I did, the latency test. And if you look at the 1000 Hertz, is definitely behaving like a 250 Hertz. So if you do 1000 Hertz on PC, take it to Xbox, it's reverting to a 250 Hertz. But if you change it to 500 hertz, which basically keeps the Xbox license, you have the audio, it shows up in the Xbox Accessories app, it still shows as Xbox One controller on Gamepad Tester or 360. That on Xbox definitely shows an improvement, 7.7 average results. And if you look at just the number of frames, there's just like I could see 6 frames, 7 frames. And if I look at the 1000 hertz, I was seeing 8, 9, 10, and even larger than, so there was an 11 frame as well. So definitely 500 hertz. I think this is the compromise Gamesir was talking about when they released the statement on their Discord that Microsoft had asked them to remove this, and they are going to get 1000 hertz working properly on a PC. So I think Kaleid actually has that. This is basically the middle ground agreed with Microsoft. So that's what they have. And I have a feeling in a future firmware, whatever, G7se might also behave like this. But for now, I do think this is a big plus because Kaleid at 500 hertz on Xbox still keeps the audio. With G7se, the moment you come out of 250 hertz, whether you go 500, 1000, it loses the audio. So that is a big plus for Kaleid. We can have better performance on Xbox whilst keeping the audio. Now, audio is another issue on the Kaleid that I've encountered. It seems like it's a bit less. I did some tests, and I would like to basically play those tests here for you. So be mindful, the audios might be a little bit louder. So I'm going to insert those tests here now. Now, depending on the headsets you are using, if you are always at near the full volume when you are playing, you might find the Kaleid a bit lacking. Now, it could be that it's my unit, but I did the test on 1.47 firmware. There's a new firmware update that's just come out, 1.49. The test I played for you guys was actually done with the 1.49 firmware update. So I personally, using the ePods H6 Pro, did find the audio to be lacking. It's not just the volume output. I did feel as if it was a bit cut in certain spectrums or whatever, but I did feel like I needed that bit extra volume. So if you are using a headset which is not always at 100%, it might be okay for you. You just have to increase the audio to 100%. But if you are using a headset that you will find yourself to be around 100% on Xbox, this potentially can be a downgrade for you. But at least we have the audio capabilities, so which is a big plus, because with the G7se, 1000 hertz, no audio, we have to use all these other solutions, either using an extra controller or get a wireless headset or something. So that's a big plus for the Kaleid, that we actually finally do have audio in 500 hertz. The physical thumbsticks are identical to the G7se. I've actually been able to swap them around. Even the anti-friction ring you can take out of the G7se and use on the Kaleid, or take the Kaleid one and use on the G7se. So nothing different there. That means the control freaks will have to be PS4, PS5 ones if you want to use them. So here I have the output from the G7se. It's a motorized push from center all the way to the left, and we get 168 different zones. So that's basically the resolution of the sticks. The per increment seems to be 0.005 to 0.006, and you can see they are linear. There are some changes in the values when we're pushing out, and that's just how it's been. With the Kaleid, little bit different here. So we get 207 different zones, so around 24% extra resolution that we have. And the per increment value has changed from the 0.005, 0.006 to 0.004, 0.005. And the other behaviors are very similar. So if you see these really low numbers, that means that when the zone changed, it was like such a low value. And you will see that that happens because at that point, the other axis had a change. So I was pushing just one axis, so axis 3 was pushing, but when the axis 4 had a change, the value didn't change by much. It's the same behavior on the G7se as well. So I don't count those as a zone because the other axis sort of changed. So it's these two values, and if you look at the axis 4, there was a change there. It doesn't always happen because there are points where the axis 4 has a change and it still goes on. But the behavior is the same between the two. Now let's look at the output shape, which seems to be the same. The 24% extra resolution didn't help that at all, but let's take a look at that now. So right now I have the standard G7, which has ALPS sticks connected, and the app is going to basically show the output. The maximum values, because it has the circular mode right now, it's just going to make a perfect circle. But what we're trying to see is what happens when we try and do a circle within the maximum boundary. So if I use something to restrict to around 50%, is going to make the square and circle hybrid shape, which is supposed to be making. So the diagonals are at their expected values. They are not clipped or anything. And if I go, I'll use a precision ring, and if I go all the way to the edges, you'll see that it will still have that normal behavior, that normal shape around the edges as well. So that's just like how potentiometer sticks do. They're not doing anything to the diagonals and everything. And the K-Silver G7se seems to be doing that diamond logo shape output. So I'm going to connect the Kaleid now, and let's take a look at the results. So this is the Kaleid now, and I'm going to try and restrict that 50% first. And we'll see that it's going to look a bit more circular, but I can still see that clipped sort of edges are showing even at around 50% as well. But where we do see it properly when we go to the extreme edges, so I'm going to use a precision ring for that, and this one will show that sort of like clip behavior. So if I just push it around the edges, it's like the 4 extreme corners are okay, but the diagonals are definitely clipped inwards. I still haven't been able to figure out what's the difference, because when I play with the standard controller going to the Gamesir controllers or any K-Silver G7se controllers, they perform really well. So it's something that for a separate video to see if there is a difference with these diagonals clipping. But yeah, the 24% extra resolution doesn't help. We still have the K-Silver G7se diamond shape output from the Kaleid as well. Now, talking about the performance, the G7se has performed really well for me. It definitely has around 250 hours of game time on it, and I do enjoy the controller a lot. Just last night, for the first time, I played Valorant on Xbox Series X, and the controller I reached for was G7se. I didn't have confidence in using anything else. It was the first time I was playing the game. I have no idea how to play that game, and it was the G7se that I used. And I do think that right now, with the current firmware, how the 1000Hz is working, this is a very unique controller for Xbox, because once they release a different firmware and it starts behaving exactly like the Kaleid, because that's what I think is going to happen to G7se as well, where when you go into the 1000Hz, it will be becoming an X input controller, so not the Xbox license. At that point, this is the unique functionality what we have right now, which I believe we are getting 1000Hz on Xbox. It's going to be lost. So still, I mean, no audio, that could be a huge thing. But for me personally, because I have other audio solutions, G7se still performs really, really well. And when it comes to it, I think for a daily driver, if I'm using a 2-back button controller, G7se definitely, personally for me, is a little bit better than the Kaleid. Even though I love the ergonomics of the Kaleid and I don't like the faceplate moving in my hand, I still would go for the G7se if I'm playing really competitively. Don't get me wrong, guys, the Kaleid performs extremely well. I actually really enjoy using the controller. The ergonomics are great. I think Gamesir have done a lot of refinements. Personally, I'm not too big on the RGB and stuff. I wish they had implemented even a basic trigger stop system where we had to use the software to engage auto dead zones or whatever. Because I understand with trigger stops, they have to use a switch to make sure that once it's engaged, the maximum dead zone is adjusted automatically. But that's the thing that I feel like we don't have an improvement. The only thing that we have with the Kaleid, if you're on PC, then you have a true 1000Hz, which can be a huge benefit, not needing a script. And if you're on Xbox, we don't have a 1000Hz, but you have the audio. So that can be a big selling point for yourselves if that's something that you need the audio and you've been using the G7se in 250Hz. This is going to give you the audio with 500Hz performance. Now, yes, it has these clicky face buttons and the D-pad. Unfortunately, I don't use them. For me, doesn't really make a lot of sense. But yeah, it's something that if you are playing a game that uses these a lot, that's a big plus. This might alone be a big selling point for you. So you need those clicky buttons and the D-pad. Go with the Kaleid. I don't think you'll be disappointed. For me personally, I do think that this is a bit confusing now, especially the situation with, I'm sure this is, Microsoft's compromise on the performance and the licensing or whatever. I do wish they had kept somehow the 1000Hz of the G7se, or given us the trigger stops and improved the audio. So I wish it would match the Elite a little bit more. And unfortunately, on my unit, it's a bit less, and it's very noticeable. So I notice it a lot. I'm very lucky that I have other audio solutions, but that potentially can be an issue for some. I still think the product is great. The price is a bit higher, which is £10 higher here in UK. So it's £60 instead of £50. So that's a bit difficult to deal because, yeah, you are getting the audio. So that's the only thing, in my opinion, that you are getting. You have the audio, which I personally think should have been the case on the G7se as well. It might be. They might do the firmware update where it will be a 500 hertz on G7se and we have the audio. We never know. But yeah, personally, I used to think like I wasted my money getting the Kaleid because I was feeling like, okay, what am I gaining when I have the audio solution and everything? But I do think if I end up playing a game where I have to use the face buttons a lot, like a different type of game or whatever, then this could potentially come in handy. And it's a really good feeling product as well. The ergonomics alone are great. But here's the thing. Now I think I'm going to get another G7se because I'm a little bit paranoid that we might be losing that 1000 hertz functionality. So instead of getting the Flux, personally, I feel like I want to get another G7se just so when that happens, when the firmware comes out, I will have two products just to test against each other. Plus, I do think the G7se is a bit of a unique offering at the moment, especially with the current firmwares that's in circulation and everything. Yeah. So that's everything from me, guys. If I've left anything out, if there's anything in particular you'd like to know, definitely leave me a comment and please share your experience, particularly with the audio. Can anybody who has the G7se and the Kaleid using on Xbox, can you please just leave a comment of what headset you are using? And if your unit is showing the audio to be a little bit like, volume is a bit less and it definitely feels like the audio quality, I think it's just the volume that makes me feel, especially the headset I'm using, that it feels a bit less. But definitely please share your experience if you are also experiencing that. And other than that, I think it's a great product. And yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone who subscribed. Your support means a lot. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Hopefully I'll catch you in one of my other videos. Bye for now.